Hey everybody, Peter Milano here with Dish Bistro Wine Bar in Mahopac, New York, and it's St. Patrick's Day. With the last name like Milano, it's probably surprising I'm going to be sharing with you a Irish soda bread recipe today. However, my mother's name is O'Connor, so we'll be sharing my family's soda bread recipe. Now, there's a lot of misconceptions about soda bread. The soda bread that is generally available in the United States is not a classic Irish-style soda bread, or which is a staple really in Ireland, made with a whole grain or a whole wheat flour. Here we use a softer flour, and it comes out more of a scone consistency. So I've kind of adjusted our recipe to be similar, and at home if you want to play with swapping out parts of whole flour to wheat flour, or bring in wheat germ into it to give it more of a nutty flavor, you could go ahead and do that as well. So let's get started. So here I have 4 cups of flour. I have 3 ounces to 3.5 ounces of chilled cubed butter, about 6 tablespoons. I have some golden raisins. I have some salt. I have some baking soda and baking powder mixed. I have about 3 tablespoons of sugar. I have some buttermilk, organic buttermilk, organic eggs, some additional flour for dusting. We have an Irish whiskey and some orange. So those are all main ingredients. The raw sugar that we have here is going to be used to put on the bread as it bakes, just to finish. So we're going to get started with the making of the dough. First things first, we're going to be using about a 9-inch springform pan, which I've put butter and flour down. Next, we're going to take our food processor, place in all of our flour. Mix our baking soda and baking powder. Our salt. That's about a teaspoon of salt. 1 tablespoon of baking powder. 3/4 tablespoons of baking soda in there. Now we're going to give it a quick blend. Once it's incorporated, you're going to start to bring in the butter. Now you want this to kind of look like fine or very fine dried breadcrumbs. And again, you want to use chilled buttermilk, chilled butter, and chilled eggs, because if it's too warm, what will happen is you'll end up with a sticky dough. Okay. Take a look at that. Pretty fine. Everything's been incorporated. Next step is going to be to add in our buttermilk. So we have about 1.5 cups of buttermilk. You see that's nice and thick. We're going to add in our eggs next as well. So we have 2 fresh eggs. This goes back on the top. And then again, we're going to mix. Now, once this dough starts to pull away from the sides, you know that it's all set. You can see there it's starting to pull away from the sides as it goes. So we're going to say that's done. We're not quite done with it yet, but you can see how when it's finished, it's actually, you could form it in your hands pretty well and it doesn't stick. Again, if your ingredients are warm, it'll be too loose. Now, quickly, we're going to kind of fast forward on our raisins. So we have a cup and a half of raisins. We're going to take about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of whiskey and some orange zest. Now, what I typically would do is I would allow this to sit overnight, covered. And you can put it in the refrigerator, or you can not put it in the refrigerator. But we're kind of rehydrating the raisins with our whiskey, which is going to give it a good flavor. At the restaurant and at home, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take an organic bergamot oil and I'll add it to this as well, so that gives it a really nice flavor. So again, these would soak that liquid up overnight, and they would get really nice and plump. We are not going to use a lot of the excess liquid, so we're going to take it, drain it off, and we're going to add them to our dough. Now at home with your food processor, don't use a blade, use one of the mixing tools, because you don't want the liquid content to come out of the raisins into the dough, again making the dough too loose. We don't want to make a scone. We want to make something denser and a little flakier than the scones. Again, similar to a bread. This guy goes back on. You have to excuse my flour mess. Give it a couple seconds to mix up. And we should be all set. So we're just going to move some things off our workstation. Okay, so we transferred our soda bread to the springform pan, and we have a little bit of buttermilk left over. If you have a little bit of egg, you could use that. A lot of times what I do is I just mix the buttermilk and egg together when I put them in. And I'm just going to brush the top. And you want to get that buttermilk nice and all over into each of the crevices. Okay. So once that's nice and on top, next what we're going to do is we're going to take our reserve of the sugar and the raw. You could use a maple sugar, you could use regular sugar at home if you have it too. This is about 3 tablespoons worth. So we're just going to take it and generously put it over the top. Because again, this is my favorite part of it. I like to make sure that it's all good and covered. And the good part about this bread is it's not just a sweet bread, it's a little savory as well. So you could have it with a soup, you could have it with a nice fish dish at home, or even your corned beef and cabbage if you celebrate St. Patrick's with that. So now we're going to place it in the oven. So it's going to go into the oven for about an hour at 350 degrees. Check it at about 45 minutes. You'll know that the bread is done by the top. If you could stick a skewer or toothpick in, and it comes out dry, you're good to go. So I'm going to place this in the oven. And then we'll come back and check in about an hour. Okay, so it's been about an hour, and let's check on our bread. Alright, we're looking good. So here we have the soda bread. So you can hear, it gives a nice thud. It's not doughy in the middle. So let's open her up quick. And this is one thing with a springform pan that you could typically open up right away because it's not going to lose its form. So we have a nice shape to it. Alright, now it's time to taste that. So the soda bread is generally the best like the next day, kind of like a scone, but hot out of the oven, especially with the whiskey raisins and the orange zest into it, it ends up being really, really nice. You can see it's crumbly, not too dense. Leave that aside. And at home you can spread it with butter, jam, whatever you like. Have it with a nice fish chowder. Have it with your corned beef, anything that you like. So give this a try. Perfect. So, from my family to yours, have a very happy St. Patrick's Day. Sláinte.
You're a fraud, all is nothing but shame.